So the first part, I'm just going to show the build. You can skip a few minutes ahead to see it in action. But first, let's start with I'm Got. That is, it's not an essential legendary, frankly. Until you get maybe a good energy shield, you could even just use the Onion as a great armor, invincibility combined with overshield, overhealing over your invincibility to keep it up constantly. And then use like Rainbow Vomit or Molecular Coil's a great one. Just guns with a really high DPS basically to them. Still getting stacked by everything you'll see we're using in this build. But for my own preference, once I got a good energy shield, I'm like, I realized with infinite uptime on Onslaughter with a good energy shield, I can actually justify using I'm God, have it be infinite. And it's just I think it's still the best primary gun for this kind of playstyle and build because it gives you shock. And you already do fire and frost as your melee hits, both of which suck against, like both fire and frost are weak against shields. So just having a primary shotgun for that is great. And then it still gets boosted by incendiary damage from Onslaughter and everything else we use and our huge amount of fire rate we stack. So, and it never has to be reloaded too while we're meleeing. So I think it's a perfect gun actually for this. And then let's get into now the beam toss guns. So we cycled 3 different elemental beam tossers, which are perfect for the boss killing on this build. The combination of gun equip speed on our enhancement you'll see and gun fire rate, that also applies to zooming through these. We basically zoom through all 9 of them really quickly to just do a giant amount of damage, which then in turn does a giant amount of damage off our melee groundbreaker stacked on it. So that allows us to like destroy a bot. And also the beam tossers get boosted by all the different gun damage buffs we have, which is quite a lot. Like they get boosted by Onslaughter, the gun damage, then the fire rate, then we have gun equip speed, so we cycle through them super fast, and then we just immediately melee and do a crap load of damage. Is this the best way to instant kill a boss with Groundbreaker? No, I've seen better Doom Guy Onslaughter builds out there specifically designed for bossing, but they aren't my style because I like using a variety of stuff. I like being great, a super great tank too, and mobbing, and I feel like this is just the perfect casual version of that build that's just good everywhere, is what I feel like. But the beam toss shotguns, yes, these shotguns are essential for the casual playstyle that can still end elites and bosses fairly quickly on a build. Like an Onslaughter Amon, that's usually no sucks, which is true. My Ordinance one is better in every way still to this one, but I really, really like what I've done now with this Onslaughter build. It seems to be very, very much better and a much more fun build to use. Now, a rep kit. The rep kit is essential to be a mini one specifically, a mini one with accelerator specifically. We don't use now with caffeine on this build, as you'll see, that allows us to use 4 different damage-related specialization perks. Again, for the casual, but the balanced view. Like I'm good with my guns, with my ordnance, with my melee, with everything. That's what I like about this build a lot, is I can utilize everything, and then Groundbreaker gets boosted by anything I'm doing pretty much. So the rep kits you'll see combined with the class mod we use, they are essential. A lot of things I'm using on this build you don't have to do. You can do a different version of it with different gear, but if you want the synergy I have here of being able to have infinite uptime on your Onslaughter, you need a rep kit like this one. You can also get a mini triple bypass that can get you that, but you need specifically a mini. You need a low cooldown one, and you need multiple charges, at least order. You can get one without charges, but it would have to be literally the lowest cooldown one you could ever find, and it still will barely get you by, honestly. I don't like using one without an extra charge. The extra charge actually increases the cooldown, if you don't notice, because the extra charge rep kits are rejuvenating between the charge, basically. So that's what lets them have essentially even faster cooldown rate than ones that don't have any charges. So yeah, you need an order rep kit minimum. You need a order mini rep kit minimum. You don't even need a purple, though. You can find... I'm still looking for the perfect one, which would be, like, Accelerator with, like, melee damage. I'm actually thinking elemental damage, because that boosts everything I'm using again. So if I could find an identical rep kit to this one, but it has elemental instead of the medicine it does, I would use that in a heartbeat. That'd give me even more damage constantly while I'm popping the rep kit, too, to keep Onslaughter active. Anyway, yeah, this is an essential gear piece. That's why I had to talk a lot more about it. Next up, our Ordinance launcher. Again, it doesn't really matter too much what you use. What I want the most is not that one. I actually want a 2-shot homing, like the ones that shoot like giant balls. I don't know how else to describe them, like elemental explosive balls. It's a really cool gun. That's mainly the reason I want to get it. It still has nice single target DPS, but it's better for groups, and it just looks cooler. And I kind of want that for that reason. I want to get like maybe a radiation one or something that has a decent element that's good against, multiple enemies still, not just a single type. And get it with 2-shot homing specifically. But until that, this is the best alternative I found. It's just a great... What you want for this build, you don't want to take forever to shoot your Ordnance, because you want to get back to melee stacking, and also so you can keep activating your Molten Royal, keep gaining your invincibility buff back again. So for that reason, you don't want an Ordnance that takes a while to get through, frankly. And for that reason, this is a great one, because it shoots, especially gets stacked by our gunfire rate too. It only has 15 rounds, basically, so we just empty it really quickly. It still does a crap load of damage, and then it comes back to us quickly, too. So it's a great cycling gun for this kind of build. Now, next up, the gun enhancement. Once again, doesn't matter too much what this is not the most essential piece, honestly. But it's nice for the Sentry we use. The main thing it does is useless to us, but we don't care. We mostly care about the 3 passives on it. So we got gun damage. That's great. Boosts all of our different guns, our beam tossers, boosts our melee damage through our specialization, you'll see. It has gunfire rate. Great for that. Boosts all our gun damage. All of that, of course, helps Groundbreaker bonus damage whenever we activate melee between gunshots. Then, again, this is kind of like a hybrid gun melee build. That's what you have to build, honestly, into Onslaughter. There's no pure melee build in this game. You have to have guns when it comes to a good melee build. I think well, actually, no, it's not the only exception, because you still stack gun damage to increase melee damage on Rafa's art knives, I think. He just doesn't use guns on them. But that might be the only closest exception to that rule. And then finally, you see we have gun equip speed, which, again, I actually really like. It's not a damage-related one, it's true. We have enough damage stacking anyway. I actually think it helps our damage overall, because it just lets us cycle between those beam toss shotguns so quickly, so we can just empty out all of our mass damage. And those beam toss shotguns are even good in mobbing sometimes, because we can just spray like 9 of them. They have good AoE too, just everywhere. And then anything we hit with our melee after that is going to instant die from Groundbreaker. So it's still a great combo, I feel like. Now comes the most important gear mod. Pay close attention to this gear piece. Everything I've said up to this point, a lot of it you don't need, period. You could just use an entirely different loadout for this kind of build if you want to go that route. The rep kit I mentioned is very key, but also even that, you can get variations to it. You just need an order kit with a low cooldown, basically, to at least maintain the infinite uptime on the build. So even that, you can vary a lot. But this can't vary hardly at all. You need to get this specific class mod, the purple recurrent Guardian class mod. It is the only class mod I've found for Amon, period, that lets you have infinite uptime on your skills. When it comes to Onslaughter and Scourge, I use a different one of this on my Ordnance build. Another one that has this and Ordnance crit hit chance on it, so it's perfect for that. This is not the best one for this build. I don't even use the pistol damage. The damage reduction, again, is great. Stacks with further stuff. I don't really feel like I need it, and I'd rather just have more damage. So if I could get it to roll with, like, action skill damage, even more damage. I mean, more damage boosts my overshield healing, so more damage would help me tank anyway. So I'd rather give up damage reduction in a heartbeat for more damage to kill things quicker and to gain more overshield off my melee hits. So Yeah, I'd rather get that. But until then, this is great. It's mostly just here for the actions. You need, I think it always rolls with 45% action skill duration. That's essential because what it usually also rolls with is multiple points, but make sure it has this because you have to get this. You have to get it with action skill duration and multiple points in the rep kits. You'll see it in the blue tree later on, but that 5 points you see it gives, I forgot what it's called. You'll see it later, but it's what lets rep kits restore your action skill duration. However, the base amount you can get is not enough to keep your duration forever. Like if you were to get 45% action skill duration, right, but not get those extra points in that skill node, you wouldn't be, even with my lowest cooldown rep kit, even with a mini triple bypass rep kit, you would not be able to maintain your action skill forever. Like it would still be slowly trickling down, basically. The same if you get a class mod that has those skill points into the rep kit one, but you don't have the action skill duration boost. Because it's all math related. The more percentage you have of the action skill duration, the more that rep kit is going to heal you. And then the more percentage you have on the rep kit healing you, the even more they stack together and you get even more duration boost from the rep kit. You need them both combined. There's no getting around that. So this is, if you're trying to make a synergy with an infinite Onslaughter, infinite Scourge build Amon, this class mod right here, absolutely essential. You'll see it. We don't use the Forge one. We don't use the legendary one that gives us an extra hit on our Forge. Even though you see we do that, we have like the cooldown stacking on our Forge skill with the invincibility buff. That's what we do with Molten Royal too. I don't have that extra hit, but I'm fine with it. You'll see we use Fellfrost and things to get around that some. But I care more about having infinite uptime on Onslaughter. I just really like, it's just my own personal preference. So for this build, you need this class mod. End of story. Okay, here I actually switched out the shield I used in the other clips. So I was using the Cinder Shelly until I learned that the Cinder Shelly doesn't work whatsoever. The Nova damage doesn't work, but most importantly for me, the damage reduction doesn't even work. It doesn't stack as much as it says, and then on top of that, it doesn't even activate half the time. So it's just a whole lot of glitchy mess. If it actually worked as intended, then it would be the tankiest energy shield once you get it to roll with Turtle and stuff like that, which you can. But until then, it's trash. So I switched to my purple roll shield that got Turtle in a double roll of capacity, so it gives a ton of shield, which increases my shield regen because of that. I'm not using the shield. A great shield that you could use is indeed the whatever it's called, Power Soldier or whatever, that drops off Vile Lictor. It'd give you even more fire rate. Most of the time, what I don't like about it is you must get it to roll with good capacity. Or when I tested the one I got, which was a trash roll, both of the buffs on it were when my shield is empty, which defeats the whole purpose of this build. I don't want my shield to ever be empty. So basically, it was just a pure standard roll just to get the power play thing going. And when I tested it was OP. I mean, I was still OP, but I was too frail for my life. I was taking too much damage from Vile Lictor that I felt like I didn't need to take. My shield was literally half what it was, what it is in this video. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but having 100% more shield and shield regen is just superior to having a faster fire rate. Another faster fire rate buff. I know I'm using faster fire rate, but it's not the best thing in the end, so yeah. Now, firmware is pretty straightforward. I won't spend much time on it. We get 2 points of Gouge for action skill cooldown on Onslaughter, and more damage on Onslaughter. Then we go Action Fist for more melee damage on Onslaughter, more action skill damage on Onslaughter. Then we finish it off with 1 point in Real Fist for another melee damage affecting Onslaughter. I like this balance on it because I don't like the Nova explosions, that stuff. It doesn't have good enough radius to care. Also, I don't like kill skill related stuff because it doesn't help me at all with elites and bosses. So I just want to stack pure damage on everything. So this is why we do it this way. And then we also pick up some good cooldown along the way since we're not using now with caffeine, like I said. Finally, our skill tree, Onslaughter, is essential because obviously it's more melee damage and gun damage, gives you a bonus percentage incendiary gun damage to everything you use. And then we're trying to keep it infinitely. It gives us 15% shield regen, so the more shield we have, the more regen we get off that. That combined with a good roll on Cinder Shelly you saw that has a good high capacity on shield. And then with damage reduction, all the different damage reduction we use, as you'll see, it's just, yeah, it's that synergy keeps us pretty much invincible. Like, infinite Onslaughter is infinite invincibility mode on Amon for the most part. Also is Scourge too, even better on Scourge because you're completely immune to damage. That's why my Ordinance build is still better in every way, as you'll see, if you haven't seen already. But, yep, self-explanatory with Onslaughter. Now, this skeleton is optional. I like it because it gives you a lot of extra shield, and more shield is more shield regen too from Onslaughter, as I said. You could go, in fact, I would go, if you're ever doing the wild card mission for one crit wonder where enemies only die by critical hits, then I would absolutely recommend getting rid of it before you do it. To like basically just tweaking your skill tree temporarily to just get the melee crit chance one instead. 25% melee crit chance. We swing twice with melee because of Bifrost or Fellfrost, as you'll see, the augment we use. So that's like a 50% chance to immediately kill everybody with a melee hit if you do that route. Also, you'll see we're using a crit-based class mod to get our Forge skill cooldown going down constantly, which is the priority, but in order to get that, we get the crit hit chance shock thing for OMGOT. So that combined with the melee crit hit chance means that your melees as well as your gun spamming will just be landing crits constantly. So the one crit wonder event is not a big deal. I would say you don't even need it though. You could just simply use this setup and be fine because you're going to be landing crits constantly from your shotgun and you just melee to keep using your shotgun constantly. So the OMGOT is constantly getting crits. So I don't really think you need that. I prefer a heavy blade because it's just more tankiness for a tank build. Now, Titanium Knuckles, self-explanatory, more melee damage, more skill damage, which is more melee damage from Onslaughter. Gut Punch is great. We swing twice with melee, so 60% chance every hit means we immediately and always apply weakness on anything we melee for the most part. And then our Ordinance, especially with the faster fire rate on it, for any bosses that we can't melee immediately, will always guarantee activate weakness on anything too. Self-explanatory, we need a little bit of overshield to keep OMGOT constantly going without draining us. And we do enough damage from everything else that 1 point is all we need, as you see in these videos, to still get plenty of overshield. Forged in Steel is perfect for activating another super tank mode on this build because we also will be constantly using our Forge skill and getting the cooldown on it down fast so we can constantly apply it, especially in groups of enemies. And that keeps us completely immortal, basically, at that point, because then we're not even taking damage, period, if we're able to keep it on constantly. Into the fray, self-explanatory, we get closer, we do more damage, we stack even more damage reduction. Oh, and let me just take a moment to say, yes, if you haven't noticed, we're not using Berserk on this build. I never used it before, even when Berserk was a lot better, because I hated Berserk. I hate kill skill-based things again. It is not reliable. There's always, even when you're soloing, you'll find constantly there's waves of enemies that aren't immediately next to you, and you'll lose the Berserk, and then you have to wait a ridiculously long time to get your Forge skill back, because we're not doing, that legendary class mod build that does stack both skill trees and doesn't do anything in blue tree. No, because we want to keep infinite uptime on our Onslaughter. So because of that, we can't justify going Berserk with the Forge skill buffs because it's not worth it. It really isn't, especially even more now that they nerfed There Is Red, so it only lasts 4 seconds and you immediately lose all your stacks again. If we were to go that route, we would have to give up spamming our Forge skill, basically, or give up infinite Onslaughter, neither of which I want to give up on this build. So that's why we don't do it. It doesn't make any sense, actually, on this build. And for that reason, I love this build more because we don't have to, whether we're soloing, even more in co-op, we don't have to worry about losing our Berserk stacks constantly. And again, in co-op, Berserk's even worse because then teammates are taking your kills. And when I was doing it, over half the time, I would never even have the bonus damage from Berserk. So yeah, it was way too inconsistent for me. Now we go Burning Ramparts, giving us 20% fire rate. Fire rate is really awesome because, especially on a build like this, we're not
combining, we're not doing a big combo with amps and all this stuff to one-shot bosses. We're just relying on raw, super raw damage output. And for that reason, fire rate is just basically a flat extra giant percentage more DPS on everything we do, because it's just like, especially like we're using Oh I'm God whenever we load it. So if it shoots 20% faster, that's just literally 20% more damage output from it, period. So that's why fire rate is just awesome. And then that stacks the bonus damage applied to Groundbreaker faster because of that. So yeah, fire rate, awesome. That's why I went Burning Rampart. This right here, though, this is what lets us slam our Molten Royal Forge skill constantly. I mean, we can slam it like over twice as fast as the usual cooldown just on single like boss opponents. But then as you'll see in like some groups that we find, literally like sometimes just 2 melee swings is all we have to do to immediately activate it a second time. Which in those moments, we were just in invincibility mode the entire time, doing bonus store damage to everything constantly. And by the way, our Forge skill helps boost Groundbreaker damage
when
again.
It's at maximum, which won't be all the time, actually, because it doesn't last long enough between attacking enemies. I also noticed when I tested it against a single enemy, like a boss, it doesn't keep up constantly. Like, it's activating constantly, but I don't maintain the maximum on it constantly, and the maximum's not even that high. So it's like, I'd rather just get weakness buffed up, so weakness is pretty much just a guarantee that way every time I hit anything for the most part. So, yeah, that's why I don't go Bullet Storm. And with that, we use Fellfrost here as our augment, which is awesome for this build again, because it lets us swing twice immediately on anything. And as long as they're still living to take the second hit, that means we always activate 2 melee hits so that we can get the Forge skill cooldown, down faster because of this. I also like it because it just helps our melee still do a good amount of damage. It's just a pure damage related one for our melee, so our Onslaughter is still doing decent damage on its own, as you see. And then it also has an instant kill feature, which is great because we're not using Berserk again. We're not doing all this other crazy stuff, so having a chance to just immediately kill an elite enemy when they're low health is also great. But then, yeah, Molten Royal we unlocked, and it's the best. It's definitely the best capstone to use on this build because it's a pure damage-related one. We aren't stacking a crap load of Forge and melee damage, or not. We're not Forge damage at least. So Molten Royal is the best one to use anyway, so that if we are going to spam our Forge skill, we can at least do a decent damage by just using Molten Royal alone. Also, because the bonus damage it does is stored damage from the enemy attacks. So a lot of the damage Molten Royal does is not like Forge skill damage even related. I mean, the initial hit is. So yeah, we're not killing many things with the initial hit. So we do take a hit by not stacking Forge skill damage as much on this build with the legendary class mod. But this stored damage is great because it's not related to that. And also it does let Groundbreaker stack up so that our follow-up melee hit after using the Forge skill is always boosted too. Now onto the blue tree. Battleborn, absolutely maxing out. That's 40% gun damage, which becomes another 20% melee damage on Onslaughter through our specialization. Absolutely a great mod. We need to go in the blue tree anyway, so this is the great initial mod to get. Now, yes, even though you didn't see us take health damage one time in this video, I go the 3 points in the thrill. All 3 points. Why? Because there's certain bosses in this game. Backhive is one of them. Vile Lictor. There's certain bosses that just either bypass your shield or they just immediately break your shield or armor no matter how much you have on it. So there are moments in this game that I take health damage regardless. And so having all 3 points in the thrill, because there's not much else better to get anyway. We could get even more Ordinance damage, but our main source of damage is not that. So I just feel like, no, let's go all in on the thrill. So that combined with our rep kit spamming is a crap load of health regen. So not only do we have a crap load of shield regen, we have a crap load of health regen. So anytime we take a big honking hit like that, we get our health back quickly too, while of course getting our shield back. So with it, we literally get both back in just like a few seconds, which is all we need to. Usually that's all the time you need before you get hit by the next one potentially, and then that way we're still pretty much invincible, chucking on through even through the worst hits in this game.
But with that, yeah, we go 2 points Scorch Kairos, because why not? It's more Ordinance damage. We don't need to stack even more on Eternal, as you'll see. So, yep, this is great. Just even more Ordinance damage for whenever we use it. Eternal, we just get through our class mod, but we don't need to put any points in that, because I've tested a lot, and the next one coming up is the absolute best one when it comes to maintaining your action skill duration, not Eternal. And here it is, Warriors Cup. We get 5 points from our class mod again in this, and then we go 4 points, because again, 5 alone is not enough. So we get a whopping 4 extra in there. I tested it. I didn't need to go all 10, although I do that on my Ordinance build, Amon. But this one, we just go 9 into it, and that's enough to maintain our action skill, our Onslaughter, forever. Now on specialization, the best defense. A lot of builds use this. It's a great class mod, 30% damage dealt, because it also affects everything. So again, not just our melee damage, our guns, our ordnance, boosts everything, and we almost always have our shield up. Now here's the one I changed, CQC. I used to have the fit one with 50% melee damage off gun damage until I realized, wait, hold on. What am I doing? I can get 30% more. I just got done telling you how fire rate is so OP, especially on this build, because it's basically just a flat extra, giant amount, percentage extra DPS to all our guns, which is still a huge part of our damage, and then it boosts the Groundbreaker stacking for a melee faster too. So 30% fire rates constantly, basically, on this build? Heck yes. That's on all I'm got. Break through those shields even faster, stack the Groundbreaker even faster. It's even good for our beam toss cycling, because it means we get through the beam toss shotguns quicker to unload a lot more damage quicker to then follow up with Groundbreaker quicker. So, I mean, it's just, this is actually a very good specialization perk. Now, of course, we still use I Am a Gun. This is 50% more skill damage based off gun damage. We could go the melee one, but when I tested it, it looks like this one helps our Onslaughter damage just a tad bit more than the melee one, the raw melee one. So, yeah, this is a better one to use than the melee one. But now, finally, we wrap it up with Groundbreaker. I've mentioned it many times already in this video, so if you don't know it already, yep, this is the key. This, combined with a lot of burst damage, you can put on the build through beam toss shotguns. You can do other things too, like the lasers, the airstrikes, just different guns, maybe going more crit based on the skill tree and just stack. The key, as always, is stack up a lot of damage quickly and then follow it up with Groundbreaker. And that combo is what lets you end a boss really quickly on a build like this. And with that, let's finally get into the videos.
laser?
I thought Zadra had risen above simple mentality. Well, the core weakness of every human are the need to feel, drowning out the need to think. But she was just another threat to me and my order. my order, the vault will stay closed.
The command bolts will open the way. I dedicate this to you, Zandra. Door as large as the Timekeeper's ego. I must be drawing close.
I am enjoying the moment to myself. Stargazing. Join me, if you like. Just think, Vault Hunter.
If you had never arrived, we would still have futures, gleaming and bright, within the Timekeeper's crystalline order.
But now we all will die. Every last soul. Because of you. That is my curse. Forever. Here. As the clock ticks, I remain still. My order is eternal. You are a moment that shall soon vanish. So let's enjoy it. Everyone has a fate. Rejoice for your glorious head. Enough! Oh, free will. A rampant tomb. Kill. Perfect system. Why should you get to be free? Doom is destroyed. While I must hold back chaos for eternity!
You think you're the prisoner? You'll get all of this yourself.
Is that what I look like through the eyes of a vault hunter? Someone who has a choice. I was given Everything breaks.
So,